My name is Alissa Turney, and this is Voices for Justice. Before I discuss this week's episode, I want to let you know that this is the last episode of Voices for Justice for this year. However, I am very excited to let you know that Voices for Justice will return on January 7th, 2021 to cover new cases in need of justice. But with that being said, on this episode of Voices for Justice, I speak with four of Alissa's friends, Janae, Katie, Charity, and Jessica, and we take this time to remember Alissa and discuss some of our best and funniest memories of her. So without further introduction, here is my conversation with Alissa's friends. I just want to thank everybody for being here. Of course, today we have Janae, we have Katie, we have Charity, and we have Jessica. And what I love about having all of you guys together is that you guys knew Alissa at different points in her life. You know, Janae and Katie knew Alissa when she was much younger, and then Charity and Jessica knew her most when she was older. So I love that you guys can kind of hit on every different time in Alissa's life. But with that being said, I'm sure all these names sound really familiar to the listeners right now, but I do want to give everyone an opportunity to introduce themselves and talk about just really briefly how you knew Alissa. And I'm just going to go in order of how it is here on my screen. So I'm going to start with Janae.
I know Alissa because of my Uncle Jeff being best friends with Rhett, your older brother. And so I've known Alissa since we were infants. We probably had play dates when we were 2 or 3 years old to start. But we started kindergarten together at Sunrise Elementary and went on from there.
Perfect. All right, Miss Katie.
Hello. So I met Alissa at Sunrise. I was in elementary school with her that whole time. And then we really started hanging out mostly like late elementary school, middle school. So lots and lots of stories.
Oh, yes, of course. All right, Miss Charity.
Hi, everyone. I'm Charity. I knew Alissa in her high school years, so probably right around the end of her maybe freshman year, sophomore year, a little bit through her junior year. And so I got to see her in some of her later years.
Oh, perfect. All right, and Jessica.
Hi, I met Alissa at Paradise Valley High School, and I had a ceramics class with her. And I remember seeing her, and I instantly hated her because we always wore the same clothes. So, like, I'd come into class and she's wearing the same shirt as me. And I'm like, oh, this new girl. But then, we're trapped in the classroom was like a closet. So we kind of had no other choice but to get to know each other. And she was just like so hard to hate once I got past that. And then she was like my twin because we always wore the same clothes. And so I did not know her for very long. It was just the 1 year that she was at Paradise Valley High School.
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is when you said that she was hard to hate. And as a little sister who was constantly harassed, I guess, for lack of a better term, by Alissa, I found the same thing. You know what I mean? Like 1 minute I would be, hating her for not letting me play The Sims or whatever. And then the next minute, she was knocking on my door asking if I wanted to play Barbies. And she was exactly that. I feel like she was very, very hard to hate.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree.
I agree completely. I think I told you, Sarah, at one point, that she put me off a little bit when I first met her because she was so aggressive. She was so just in your face, like, be my friend. And it was a little much at first for me, but you could not look away from her because she's just the sweetest. And you really just couldn't not like her because she was so great.
Yeah. Well, she made everything funny.
She really did.
Absolutely. I remember going to a football game with her, which this was probably the only football game I went to in all the years I was in high school. But I just remember like hanging out on the stairs over by the gym, just laughing about there was a scene in Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo, and they're like, "That's a huge bitch," and I don't know. I just remember laughing our asses off with her, and
It's just the way she said things. It's so
yeah,
funny. She was just
Yeah.
so animated and so energetic. Like she
yeah,
would just get so
Yeah.
excited, and she really loved to laugh too. So she was always looking to make everyone laugh, I feel.
definitely.
One of my favorite things that she did, because we always used to pass notes in school, and she was just like a dork, and she just came up and passed me this letter. I still have it, of course, and it says, "Charity's got a big ass. I like it a lot." So funny. Like she would just be off the wall and so random, and make you laugh.
Yeah. Well, and she was like so forgiving, which like she was so intense and so forgiving. And I think Janae and Katie can probably speak to this too. Like when I think of Alissa, a lot of the things she did I wouldn't consider to be exactly PC for today's terms. But also she wasn't malicious. Like I don't there's so many things that come up, right? Like she made that little girl pee in a cup and drink it. That is absolutely a true story. But I don't think she did it because she hated her. Katie or Janae, do you guys remember that incident more than me when I was like 5 or whatever?
I don't remember who it was. I remember the story. I don't know if I don't think I was there. Or I blocked it off. One of the two.
The sad part is I feel like it was probably me that ended up drinking the pee.
Block that one out, huh?
So we used to walk to school in a group every day. There was like 6 or 7 of us and we would all walk to school together. And she would make jokes, I remember multiple different times where like there would be dog poop on the sidewalk and she'd be like, "Look, Janae, there's your breakfast." Like
Yeah. She definitely made me eat a bug one time. I think I got like 10 cents or like the worst payment in history for eating a bug.
Well, you guys should feel good to know that she also picked on my little brother and sisters.
Aw.
Does anybody remember what happened to that kid Carl? I know we dressed up Carl many times.
Was that Christy and Carl?
Yes, and they we used to play ditch 'em real late at night. If we spent the night over at your house, Sarah, we would play ditch 'em like real late. Like it would be real dark. The street lights would be on, and we would be playing ditch 'em. But there were multiple times where we dressed up that kid Carl like a girl.
Hey, it's what you did back in the days before social media and tablets. It was ditch 'em.
Ditch 'em was very fun.
That was a definite pastime for us.
Yeah.
Which, if anybody's not familiar, ditch 'em is basically hide and seek in your entire neighborhood. Or at least that's the way I played it with Alissa. And maybe somebody can tell me if this story is true or not. There was there was like a lady on our block that was like the scary old lady. And I remember one time playing ditch 'em and Alissa was like, "Don't hide in her bushes." And I was like, "Why?" And she goes, "Well, last time she came out with a knife and said that she was going to kill us."
I remember that story too.
Is it true? I have no idea.
I don't think so.
Damn it.
She's just trying to scare the shit out of
Hey,
you.
was it? It was true?
Yep, it was.
What?
That was on the same side of the street as your guys' house was, and it was about 3 or 4 houses down, right?
Yes.
Like, towards my Aunt Katie's house.
Yes.
Towards like the end of the street, towards Melissa's house. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was true? Oh my gosh, why was it so dangerous in our neighborhood?
Where was the neighborhood?
My mom would have killed her if she would have done it.
On 31st Avenue off of like south of Union Hills.
Yeah, in between Grover's and Union Hills.
Yeah.
I don't live too far from there. Now.
Yeah, you don't.
4 blocks away, I think, from the street that you guys were on. And so I was not as involved like early on in elementary school. But I definitely heard the stories once I started hanging out over there, I think in like 4th grade or 5th grade.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh my gosh. I love that it was just like, yeah, she definitely threatened us with a knife. Just avoid her house.
Yeah, that's all it was. Don't hide there. She doesn't like us in her bushes.
Yeah.
Wow.
We learned one time. It only took one time.
I mean, there were some crazy stories in that neighborhood for sure. I used to drive whenever I would visit, I would drive through just to check it out. I don't anymore, but I definitely, even going back and looking at the neighborhood, I'm like, wow, this is very different than I remember, but also
Very the
some ways
same.
very similar. And we had on our street, we had a lady across the street that was pretty sure selling meth. She had a daughter, and this is just like 4 blocks away from you guys, but she had a daughter that was like my brother's age. So Sarah, she was about your age. You're like a year younger than Nick. Is that right?
Yeah. Me and Nick were always in the same grade, so we're about there.
Okay. So she was that same age, and her mom one time came over. I was like 8 years old, and she was like, "Can you just watch my daughter while I run to Circle K real quick?" And I was very young, and I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." And she was gone for an entire day. And my parents were like, "Why is she still here?" Like, I told her I would watch her. They're like,
oh, the neighborhood.
Crazy.
It's so crazy. Well, what's crazy to me too is that Alissa did so much babysitting. I don't think I realized until I got older that she was like always babysitting someone. She also like went with that family on trips to California to babysit the kids, and I think she was only like 13 at the time.
Well, so we started babysitting my cousin was 2 when I started babysitting him. I was 11, which is crazy. And then I turned 12 and I started bringing her and Stacy with me, which is also a terrible idea. Having 3 teenage girls babysit your children just does not seem like the best idea. Like I get it, but also why do you need 3 people? We just wanted to hang out with each other. We would go to the apartment complex, and then we started babysitting another couple's kids. It was a very crazy time. Very crazy time. But we babysat every weekend and sometimes during the week too.
I feel like in the neighborhood, so many kids just had like side hustles, if you will. Like, I remember selling stickers when I was like 5 or whatever, and I don't know if you guys remember Jennifer, and she underpaid me for my stickers, and that was not okay with Alissa. That was not okay at all. And she was like, "You're never gonna scam my sister again out of her stickers." Like, it was like a big deal. And I think that was like the first time I was like, I'm worth more than 2 pennies, Jennifer, for this Lisa Frank sticker.
Oh my God. Do you remember when she used to ride around on that 3-wheel bike and we used to make fun of her? Oh my gosh. Her mom was the substitute art teacher at the school.
Yeah, and Alissa called her the Wicked Witch of the West.
The Wicked Witch of the West. And every time we saw her riding that bike, we would sing the damn Wicked Witch song. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. The 90s were a mean time.
Oh my God. Like the horrible thing, that poor, now I want to look up that girl and apologize to her.
Well, and Alissa had a lot of pull. So probably after the sticker incident, I think Alissa she could make or break you in that neighborhood somehow.
Absolutely. I bet nobody ever talked to Jennifer after that.
Yeah, I mean, she was definitely more on the outcast side of things, which is sad. She was also older than us.
What?
How were a bunch of young kids outcasting this older girl? It was so crazy.
Alissa was the boss of that neighborhood.
Yeah, she really was. And I always felt I'm, very, very sensitive, and I'm super sensitive to what other people are feeling. And so I was always the person that was like, they're just kidding. Everyone's just kidding.
Me.
Coming behind.
I mean, it's not as if she was a monster. I mean, I remember we were in gymnastics for a really short period of time, or maybe I don't know. I don't know why gymnastics is important, but I think I was like getting ready for gymnastics, and Alissa was dyeing her hair. She was just dyeing it blonde. I don't know if it was the first time, probably not. But all of a sudden, I don't know who it was. Somebody came to our door and said, Jennifer just got hit by a car. And Alissa rinses out her hair really quick and like runs down with all the other neighborhood kids to go watch her, and make sure she's okay and stuff. So I think that we were just so close that we were comfortable enough to pick on each other and push these types of barriers by, underpaying me for my stickers and making kids drink pee or whatever. It was just, we were so close in that neighborhood.
Yeah, definitely.
We really were. We really were. Well, for a long time, we were really very close. And then, gosh, just a whole bunch of traumatic experiences happened, one right after the other, I guess. It caused us all to just go our separate ways.
Well, yeah, of course, get older and go to different schools and meet different people. But what I love is that each one of you guys were so close to Alissa at different times that I don't know. I think it's just so special. And I'm sorry that it's kind of a cluster and everyone's just, talking about different memories. But I always imagine this, that we would all be in person and we've been having cocktails and sharing a good laugh over Alissa. So I apologize that it has to be done in this COVID type of way where we're all kind of talking over each other. But yeah, I love it. I love that there's so much there that people don't realize about Alissa, that she was truly that Sour Patch Kid. She was sour but sweet. And she never meant anything by it. I truly think that she would help each and every person in that neighborhood that she might have otherwise terrorized.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. She would have given the shirt off of her back.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as she got older, she was getting sweeter. I don't know. Jessica, Charity, was she ever like that in high school? Was she ever, I guess, like just kind of mean to people? I feel like that kind of faded away as she got older.
She was definitely a take no shit type. She was the sweetest, and she would definitely be the first one to go to bat for you. With any experience that I ever had with her and anyone new, she definitely gave everyone the benefit of the doubt. And, if they gave her any reason to feel otherwise, then she would definitely let that other side of her show. But my experience of Alissa was that she was just really trying to like liven up the mood in every space that she went, trying to make people laugh, trying to be a good friend. I experienced multiple times where she maybe was a little bit more forgiving of friends than she should have been. She was, to me, and from my experience, just a normal teenager, just your normal good person, good friend.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was absolutely a mean girl on every level. So I don't feel like she was. I feel like if anything, she made me a better person, and she was always trying to stop me from being so mean to people. So maybe I took that away from her, that she saw that, picking on people wasn't the nicest thing to do. And she taught me how to be nicer.
Oh, I love that. She taught me how to be meaner. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, there's a place for meanness.
What was that?
There is a place for meanness.
It's true. It's true. And it has helped me more than I would have ever imagined in my life. That whole do no harm but take no shit is definitely something I have adopted. That I wouldn't have without her. You know what I mean? I think I would be a totally different person if she didn't constantly challenge me and constantly teach me to stand up for myself. I remember, my best friend growing up was Renee, which, I don't know if you guys have heard her on the podcast or some of you have met her in real life. But she wasn't always nice. She was definitely my best friend, but a mean girl, like picked on me. It was this really weird relationship. But I remember one time, Renee made it into the talent show and I didn't. And Renee followed me home making fun of me. And Alissa saw me hiding behind our truck crying. And she comes out and I was like, it's Renee. And she just looks at Renee and Renee books it and runs. Because she knows. She's like, no, we're not going to take that shit today, Renee. And she just made me realize that it's okay. It's okay to not just follow the norm and to stand up for myself. So yeah, I mean, I think she taught me all the best things, including like all the, like, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I see things that are inherently 90s, or early 2000s, it reminds me so much of Alissa. Like every Missy Elliott music video ever, the word functified will never leave my head. Ace of Base for you, Janae?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Just Eminem and Linkin Park. For me, I remember singing that Linkin Park song with her walking around school.
Did she used to make you guys CDs? Like she used to burn CDs for me. But it would have just like every freaking kind of music on it.
Yeah.
All the way, from country to rock to some metal even she would have.
Oh yeah, we definitely grew up with metal from our brothers. It was very much like you have to like Metallica or you're not in our family or whatever. So, but I like one of the songs I always listen to when I think about Alissa or it's a special day or whatever is "Faith" from Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many times she listened to that song on repeat, just blasting from her room over and over and over and over. And it's definitely a song that reminds me so much of her. But I have so many triggers that way, like What's Eating Gilbert Grape, People Under the Stairs, Scream movies. There's so many things that trigger me about her. Especially horror movies. Like maybe in Janae and Katie, you might be able to speak to this more. Do you guys remember? Like, I don't know why me and Alissa were allowed to go see Scream in theaters or why I was watching Chucky at the age of like 3 or whatever. Do you guys remember us and all those horror movies? It just sticks in my mind so much.
You know what's funny for me is that I didn't actually get to experience that part of her very much, but I do remember like one of the one times that I came over to your guys' house and she was trying to convince me to watch scary movies with you, and it's just really not my thing. And I just thought it was so funny because, yeah, I do remember her having a thing for scary movies and stuff like that. And I remember it striking me that it was something that you guys shared together and enjoyed together. And I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah. We saw Scream in the theaters. And my brother Mike tried to cover my eyes when Tatum, the blonde girl, Rose McGowan, her head is crushed by the garage.
Yeah.
He's trying to cover my eyes. And Alissa was like, don't cover her eyes. Like, what disrespect is this inside of this movie theater right now? That just came to mind. And I'm sorry, whoever I just cut off. Please continue.
I used to have an annual movie horror night where my mom would let me, like me and Alissa would go to Blockbuster or whatever the local movie store was at that time. There used to be one in the parking lot that was closest to my house. So we would go and rent like 5 or 6 movies, and my mom would buy us like Starbucks drinks and all of the popcorn and like the snacks and all of that stuff. And we would stay up really late watching movies. I remember one night from one of my horror movie nights, we ran out to Union Hills and we went streaking on Union Hills.
Wild one.
She was a bit of an exhibitionist. Then again, so am I. So we got along pretty well.
I feel like I streaked. I feel like maybe not anymore, but I feel like every girl's sleepover before like cell phones captured all video of every moment was like, dare you to streak, dare you to streak. I did it. I mean,
truth or dare.
Exactly.
I
you can't say no to the dare.
Oh. Not once. No. I always wore pants and long sleeves, and I was never taking any of my clothes off. Ever. I was like, you guys can go ahead. No.
I feel like Alissa also taught me, like, if it's a double dog dare, you better do it. This is the honor of your family that you're speaking about right here.
So funny. Yeah, that
She's
is
really adventurous.
Yeah. No, she definitely was. My goodness. All of the adventures. I remember she taught me how to jump a fence. I don't know why. I feel like it was into an apartment complex. But yeah, she was like, this is how you jump a fence. You put your foot in here. And, it was really basic and definitely like a chain link fence and nothing like, no great feat or whatever. But yeah, I remember she taught me all those things.
She's like,
And
if you got to dip quick, this is how you do it.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, she taught me so much about the world that I didn't realize until I got older. But that's what's so hard is, when people ask like what my favorite memory is, there's so many. I feel like my mind bursts like into this conversation. Like there's so many just
Right.
different things and times, like, especially at the end. Like I feel like I was so close to like finally being cool. Like I was 12, I was finally allowed to like ride the bus with her to go to the mall, and I felt like I was like winning a Grammy or some shit. And I was just so honored to be there and to be included. But yeah, it's so sad that it was cut off so short, but there's so many good memories. And maybe a better way to structure this is if some of us talk about our favorite memories in terms of like our top pick, if that's okay, if everybody would be willing to share, I think it would help. Janae, I'll just start again in order. What's your favorite memory of Alissa?
Dancing around in her bedroom singing I Saw the Sign.
So
I love that. Was that when she had the glow stickers on the wall, or no? You remember like the stars and the moon, you turn off the lights and you could pretend you're in space?
Yeah, in the house on Villa Rita, yes.
Oh my gosh, I love it. What about you, Katie?
We definitely had a lot of really fun times at the mall, and then also when we were babysitting, which was when we were like 13 and 14. There were definitely some not so great times there as well, but there were some very, very fun times. And she was just so, she would like get along with the kids, which I know sounds strange, but she was so like a kid, she had that about her. She obviously could be more adult as well, but I feel like she just had that really young at heart feel to her. And so the kids loved her because she was always playing games with them and making them laugh. And I think that's when it was such a coming of age time for us. And we just were all learning so much about ourselves and about each other. And that whole time period is really, really dear to my heart.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And I mean, I remember you guys together and me being like, these are the coolest people I've ever seen in my life. Especially you, Katie. You were such like a 90s fashion icon when I look back on it. Like you were like, you had the like shorter burgundy hair, which was very not Clarissa Explains It All. What am I thinking of? My So-Called Life.
Favorite show.
Yes. And you had, you wore the Janko jeans, I think, too, at least the bigger, like, raver jeans, if I remember correctly. But then you'd have, like, a crop top. And I was like, she's so cool. How does she do that? And, like, the tiny backpacks. And, like, it's all, like, it's in style now. But every time I see someone that's, like, dead on 90s, it legit reminds me of you, Katie, to this day.
I think that is the best compliment ever.
It's so true though. You were everything 90s, and then all the bracelets up the arms, and I was just like, every bracelet I make is not as cool as theirs. Like I don't understand what I'm doing. It's so hard for me to explain how much I looked up to Alissa and really all of you guys at different points in her life, of course. But that was just me like idolizing you for one more moment of my life, Katie. How about you, Miss Charity? What's your favorite memory of Alissa?
Well, for me and Alissa, most of our time spent together would be either at school or when she would come over to like my house. We weren't allowed to do a terrible lot of things. I think we might have gone to the mall a few handful of times. You were probably there for most of them. We did go down the river with your brother Mike and John, I think, a couple of times. And that was a lot of fun. But my best and my most favorite memories with Alissa are really just honestly sitting in my bedroom, smoking a joint, drawing stupid pictures, laughing our asses off over absolutely nothing. Playing music, singing, dancing, picking on my brothers and sisters, just doing basic things, just basic hanging around the home things, just having fun together, laughing. She got along with my family really well. So she always jumped right in, to anything that we had going on, and birthday parties, whatever. She was really just kind of like a family member in my house. And, I miss her. I miss her a whole lot. But like I say, my best memories are just the most simple ones where we're sitting, chatting, laughing and having fun.
I love that. And I feel the same way. And honestly, the picture that comes from Alyssa's 17th birthday, the one where she's holding out her hands in front of the cake, is one of my favorite pictures in existence of Alissa. She's so happy. Which, in a lot of family photos, which could be, families everywhere, the teenage daughter, especially Alissa, she never really smiled in photos. It was kind of like, like a non-teeth smile or okay, I'll smile for the picture type of smile. But in that picture that you guys took, she's like so happy. And I love that photo, the light with the candles, and it's just so, so beautiful. So I love that. I love everything you did for her. And yeah.
Well, I love everything she did for me. She really opened my heart up big and, gave me the ability to kind of point out a good person, because she really was just such a good person. And now I kind of have a way to meet her, who to and not to allow into my life. But yeah, she was happy because she was surprised. That was a fun night. I think you and I have discussed before that one of my sisters' birthday is April 3rd and Alissa is the 4th. Sorry, I got those backwards. My sister is the 4th and Alissa is the 3rd. And my mom had put together just a small party for my sister and wanted to include Alissa. So Alissa was coming over anyways for Heather, my sister. And my mom had gotten Alissa a cake too. So when we all went down to sing happy birthday, Alissa had noticed that her name was on the cake as well. So that shot is happiness that you see. And I'm so glad that we captured it.
I love that. But it was really nice to see her have a happy birthday, especially with that being her last, of course. So yeah, I love that you did that for her. And Miss Jessica, I'm sorry that you're always last. I'll have to make sure you go first next time.
No, it's totally fine. But the shirt that she's wearing in that picture was one of those shirts that I also had, and I still have it for some like weird sentimental purpose, because that's how I roll. I like sentiment. So my story about her, I told this, and she accused me of being in love with Alissa. So I feel like I got to find a different way of saying this, but
hey, you say whatever you feel, however you feel. There's no judgment here.
Well, like I don't feel like I ever had a friend like her, even to this point in my life. So there was just something so magnetic and magical about her. And that was such a dark, dark time in my life. So, her disappearing obviously made things much worse. But in our ceramics class, I got kicked out of the class, and I had made this. I don't even know what it is because it's so terrible. I think it was supposed to be a candle holder, but the teacher went around asking which things were mine, and she was breaking them. And Alissa claimed this piece to be hers, and she painted it black for me and then like saved it and gave it to me. So I've held on to that all these years because her doing that for me like meant something. Like nobody like spoke to me in that way. Nobody cared about me to do something like that. So yeah.
I love that. That definitely sounds like Alissa.
Yeah. And there was like a couple other little things that she managed to steal that I had made too. But she was just thoughtful.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, she made every single one of my birthdays and Christmases happen. So she had to be thoughtful, unfortunately. I feel like that was very much thrust upon her. Not that, I mean, I guess not that she had to, right? I guess she had the option to be like, no, I'm not making Christmas magical or whatever for my sister because I hate her. And she didn't do that. She
There was
took
something
the
just so
time.
motherly about her.
Yes.
And
I
then
think
you guys talking about her babysitting, and it seemed like she was like the mama bear for the street. She just
Yeah.
wanted to, and I could pick on, or she could pick on you, but if anybody else picked on you, she was going to get them.
Alissa was really thoughtful. She would always like I still have a lot of little things that she gave me too. Like you guys went to Disneyland one time and she came back with like, one of the Beauty and the Beast roses for me and a cute
Aw.
shirt. She would always like send me little notes in the mail once we couldn't talk with each other anymore. And your dad moved her back to Paradise Valley. She would write me notes and send them in the mail. And she'd always include cute little things like, knit bracelets or cute little stickers. She would write it on the sweetest little stationery. Like she did really thoughtful things all the time.
Yeah. Okay, low key, Charity, when you showed me the letters that Alissa wrote you, she wrote one on Blue's Clues stationery, and I was like, that's my stationery. She stole that from me.
Yeah.
Which obviously it's fine. Obviously it's fine now. But
Are
I
you sure?
like, yeah, I know, right? No, that's actually the whole reason I'm doing this journey is I want to confront her about this Blue's Clues stationery.
You deserve that moment.
I know. All the things that we stole from each other. That was, of course, being sisters. That was like the bane of our existence. Is that my shirt? Is that I remember her being like, "It's not fair. You have bigger boobs than me," and then I was like, "I have boobs? Like, do I?" It was just all this back and forth. And of course, I was always like, well, you have the prettiest hair because you chopped mine off into a Carol Brady haircut because you wanted to try to experiment with layers on my hair. So it was like, I felt like I was like her Barbie doll. But it was so much fun. Like, it's definitely where I learned how to do pretty much anything with makeup or hair is because she was experimenting on me 24/7. I don't know. I guess I was cooler than I thought back then if she was stealing my stuff and and all that jazz. But it's hard. I feel like for so many years I felt rejected by her, to be honest. And maybe Janae and Katie might remember this, but at her birthdays, I would always try to get like, because I loved books. Like I was such a nerd. I was always in like Barnes and Noble or whatever is my favorite store. And I would always get her like, a book on sisters or like all those like lame gifts that like nobody really wants to receive. And she would literally be like, "This is stupid. I don't want it," and like throw it. And I was like, I'm rejected, you guys. So rejected.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I wasn't allowed to celebrate birthdays until I was 13, 14. So I was not allowed to be there for a lot of the birthdays early on because of the religion that I was. So I always felt really left out, even though I knew it was my own reason for being left out. But like I had to miss all of the awesome parties until I was about 13 or 14.
I never knew that, Katie, but now it makes so much more sense why you don't really appear in them until you're older, because I definitely have videos of you dancing to 90s R&B in our kitchen for days wearing flannel.
Yes.
It exists.
Yeah. I was a Jehovah's Witness, and I finally left when I was 13, like towards the end of my 13th year. So, yeah, I was definitely earlier on. I wasn't really allowed to hang out with people that weren't Jehovah's Witnesses either. So I wasn't around as much until like 12, 13, 14. And then I started being like, I don't care. I'm going to hang out with my friends.
Yeah, because Alissa and Stacy were like your best friends. I mean, as far as I can remember from my very limited outside view.
No, that we definitely were inseparable for a while until I think when, Alissa went to a different school, and then, same with Stacy. It just kind of like all started. It's so hard when you don't have a car and you don't have, there's like no way to actually hang out with each other. And especially when someone moves away, so you're no longer a few blocks from each other.
That's what happened to us too when she had to move back to Paradise Valley. We just couldn't get to each other.
If it means anything, all I ever heard was about Stacy and Katie and Charity. Like I've heard so many stories about you guys.
She would always talk to me about all of you as well. She always talked about all of you. And even you too, Jessica, because she would call me and tell me about, the friends that she had. Or she would write me, about the friends and her boyfriend. And she always talked up the people that she loved.
I can definitely attest to Katie and Stacy. I had an adoration of the two of them the same way that Sarah did. So
it's so funny to think about that, because like thinking back to where I was in my head at that point, it's just very interesting.
I mean, I can remember feeling like I was following you guys around like a puppy, like a lost puppy dog.
I didn't feel that way. I always loved hanging around with you. But we all have such different perspectives, I feel like, and especially when you're kids, like it's just so different looking back on it and realizing that that's not actually how things were. Yeah.
Yeah. Your adult perspective is sobering.
It really is. I really wish that it makes me wish that I would have done things differently. It makes me wish that I would have had a voice back then. It makes me wish that I would have stood up for her then. It makes me wish I would have stood up for Stacy then. There are like our lives would be so much different if I had the voice that I had today back then.
I think about that all the time, and I have to stop myself.
Yeah.
From getting too far into that, because there's just so much like I think I've already dealt with so much guilt about both of them, and just trying to realize like things change, and especially when you're that age, like you can't always see things for what they are,
Hindsight is always 2020.
Yeah. And Janae, what you're saying about having a voice, I definitely feel that same way. And it's funny, not funny, but I was talking to my dad the other day, and he was like, he feels it too. He just about everything that happened with both Alissa and Stacy, he feels that sense of guilt as well. And like, why didn't I do something,
let us all take that and transform it and do better.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure that if my mom was still here, she'd feel the same way.
Yeah. My mom does too.
I mean, I can tell you guys from speaking to so many different people in Alissa's life for this podcast or just in general, that every single person I've spoken to has regrets about Alissa. Everybody. I do. All of us do. I think anybody that is of reasonable mind would go back and change something about what happened. But what's most important is that you guys are fighting for her. And you guys did fight for her in this podcast, and you spoke up, which is what a lot of people wouldn't do. So in my mind, you guys are heroes to me. I mean, you guys are fighting for her in ways that a lot of people wouldn't. And I forever love you guys for that. Like, please know that that is doing something for her, that you can't change anything that happened in the past, but what you're doing now is helping. What you did with this podcast helped.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, and, and just while we're talking about Stacey, it's like Stacey would be here right now. I fully believe that she would be one of the people on this call with us. She would have been in the podcast. She would have been there fighting for Alissa.
I wish I could have met her.
No doubt. No doubt in my mind at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, Stacey was so beautiful, and again, one of those I looked up to all you guys so much. I can't even.
Oh, she was so beautiful. She was gorgeous. Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
Yeah, and I just wanted to I wanted to add for Jessica, to the point of making you feel whatever dirty for loving Alissa. Like, I loved Alissa. I love her to this day. So don't ever feel shame because you loved her.
It's just a very emotional thing for me still. I still think about it in my 15-year-old eyes. So for her to say that, I was like, oh, I'm in my 30s and I'm thinking she just twisted it into being something. And we were in Barnes and Noble and I was just dumbfounded that she had the audacity to say that to me. Because it was I don't know.
How could you not love Alissa? She was great. She was just so great. And, Stacey had to have been 100% the same. I completely believe that. All the stories that you guys have told about her and everything, I guess kind of where I wanted to head is that she had to be wonderful.
Yeah, she was.
She truly was.
And I think something that people don't, I mean, I guess everybody should understand it, but when it from an outside perspective, who doesn't love their best friend in that way? I remember, back in the day when you're teenagers and just growing up, these are your ride or dies. This is your family. These are the people that you tell everything to, not some abridged version that you're afraid you might get in trouble for, not being honest about what you're doing with, a sexual partner or how you're doing in school. These are your friends. You tell them absolutely everything. You wake up and say, oh, I feel fat. Oh my gosh, look at this zit on my face. Oh my gosh, can you believe that this boy didn't text me back or whatever? You love them on a different level, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that.
No, and Alissa really allowed you to put your walls down, and she didn't make you feel stupid for feeling hurt that someone would break your pottery. She was a good person.
She was it for me. She was the only friend I ever had that was like that. And I know it was for a very brief period of time, but I was always so cold and shut off to everyone before that. And then once she disappeared, I was so devastated that I wasn't ever going to let anybody else in.
Yeah, I understand that.
It's been very difficult in that regard, just with so much loss and trauma of loss at such important ages, those, I've definitely had to battle a lot of my own demons trying to create new coping mechanisms and not let myself just be so worried about losing people, living your life out of fear of losing people. And that's a really, really real thing that I think all of us have had to kind of face a little bit, at least a little bit. I mean,
to some degree, of course.
Yeah. But I think it's, she, of course, would never have wanted any of us to live that way.
No.
So I try to remember that.
Oh, I love that, Katie. No, you're exactly right. She wouldn't have. She like I feel like if Alissa were here right now, she'd be like, "Shut up, stop being sad. Go watch Tower Records and go watch Empire Records and eat some ranch corn nuts and get over it."
She actually came to me in a dream once and yelled at me, and it was before your dad was arrested. But she came to me a dream once and yelled at me for being sad about her. But that's the kind of person she was. She really would just tell you to just knock it off. Come on, guys. It's okay. Well, and she really did carry the world, right? With such a smile on her face.
Yeah. I mean, whenever people ask me, like, how are you so strong or why do you do this? It's Alissa. Like, Alissa taught me to be strong, and I'm doing it because Alissa would have done it for me. I mean, my God, if the situation were reversed, I think we wouldn't be here today. I think Alissa would have solved this a long time ago.
You're right.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Alissa definitely would have taken the matters into her own hands had it been reversed.
But to her benefit and to, she would have been in a much older perspective with much more ability to act. You've done absolutely everything you could this entire time, Sarah. Not sure that, yes, she would have, she may have like gone harder and she may have got it for you, but I just want to make sure that you understand that, you've done the best that you could from day one.
Oh, you're so sweet. I mean, yeah, I think Alissa is proud of me, of course. But I feel like Alyssa's personality was like, I'm very proud of you. Keep going. You know what I mean? Like there was never a chance to rest in the best possible way. Like, this is great. And you accomplished something great. What can you do now that's better? But I think that's just older sister, little sister type of things, is her always pushing me to be my best, despite her, making fun of me or torturing me along the way. When we were going to Great Skate and I was dressed all in yellow and she called me a banana, I was very upset that day, but I think that it was for the best that I didn't go head to toe in yellow to Great Skate.
I'm going to hurt you so someone else doesn't.
What was that?
Well, I'm going to hurt you so someone else doesn't.
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. Like, do you want to get beat up? Because you're in yellow spandex head to toe, and it's 1994. Like, let's figure this out.
That's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, so many good times. I have so many memories. Like, her trying to kill me on the trampoline is one of my favorites. Like, I feel like when I tell the stories, like, people expect, like, yeah, when we went to Europe and then we tasted, escargot and we both had a laugh. It's like, no. We were basically, my dad was asleep and she was like, jump off the roof onto the trampoline. And I'm like, no, you're going to double bounce me. I'm not stupid. And she was like, no, I'm not going to double bounce you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so I jump off the roof onto the trampoline. She double bounces me and I almost die. But like, I feel like at the end of those stories, I'm laughing. And sometimes when I'm doing an interview, the other person is like, oh my God, like, what just happened?
I can relate to the shenanigans.
Oh, yeah.
Again, I feel like we had very different childhoods than most people. Like, there are some people that I talk to and I will tell stories to, and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, you didn't have this experience. You didn't have your neighbor come out and with a knife and tell you not to hide in her bushes. Like, I don't know what it was about at least everyone in our neighborhood, but I feel like we all grew up very quickly, and I feel like it wasn't all our fault that happened. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we all, no matter what the reason, we all had to grow up really fast, and we all experienced some things that most people would be like, that's not normal.
Yeah.
Can I just point out that it's 11:11 if anybody wants to
Thank
make
you.
a wish?
Thank you.
My son is obsessed.
I love it.
He says timers.
Oh.
I love it. And I love that like so many of us are spiritual in that way too. Like there's definitely something about all of us that are similar. And I don't know if that is because of Alissa, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I always wanted to meet Charity and Katie. And then, over the years, we've crossed paths through Alissa.
Mhm.
And the older we get, the more I realize we have in common. So I really hope someday we can
Yeah.
all hang out and actually have that drink. And
I am 100% down. Katie, when are you coming to town?
I can make it happen. I got some travel points.
Yeah, no, that would be great. And like I said, that was kind of the initial vision for this whole episode was all of us getting together and having drinks and the audio being whatever it is because we're just remembering Alissa. That's always how I wanted it to be, but there's still an opportunity to do that. And, hopefully after everything is all said and done, we can get together when it's safe and have those drinks and talk a little more candidly, if you will, about everything that's going on. But yeah, I really do appreciate all of you guys coming together to talk about memories of Alissa. I know it was kind of just like I said, I just wanted it to be like a candid conversation. So hopefully it wasn't too awkward. And I'm sorry that there was a lot of everyone talking over each other. But yeah, I just wanted it to be like an old gathering of friends. And this makes me feel better. I don't know. Hopefully it makes you guys feel better too.
I feel good.
It does.
yeah,
I feel good.
I think it was perfect.
I'm happy we did this.
Me too.
Oh, good.
Thank you, Sarah, for everything that you've done for Alissa and for us and for just being you. You're amazing.
You are amazing.
You guys are so sweet. Well, thank you guys, each and every one of you, for coming on the podcast. There weren't a lot of friends that wanted to be involved, but I'm really glad that it ended up with us. Because I know that each and every one of you care so much, and each and every one of you were so close to Alissa at a certain point in her life that I think it's cool that you guys were able to provide all these different perspectives. Well, thank you guys. No, and I mean, like I said, I don't think the podcast would be anything like it is without all of you guys. I think you guys added that very human element to it that I wasn't able to provide because, when I did the podcast, of course, I tried to keep as much of my opinion out of it as possible and just rely on facts and rely on interviews. And that was all of your guys' interviews saying what you heard, what you saw. So it wouldn't have been nearly as impactful without each and every one of you.
No, I'm happy to help in any small way I can.
Absolutely.
Of course. Well, and thank you guys. I mean, you guys are more than just interview subjects too. Like you guys are family. When I need to text somebody about it, I know I can go to any one of you guys. And that means the world to me because I don't have a lot of people like that in my life. So I will stop gushing and stop saying thank you. But thank you.
It's so strange because I feel like I have to overly thank you because this is such
Yeah.
an incredible thing that you have done. And you've sacrificed so much and worked so hard. And then like I've wished that I've been able to do something more this whole time. I feel like I'm just like standing in the sidelines being your cheerleader. Like you can do this. And I'm just so proud of you. And I know she would be too.
Yeah, she would. Yeah, she really would. I know that you talked a lot about, and we've talked about this before multiple times throughout the years that we've talked with each other. But as much as she picked on you or as much as she gave you a hard time and as much as you guys may have fought and bickered and, all that normal, nasty, sisterly stuff, like she really did love you. And I don't just say that because I think that. I say that because she spoke highly of you. She always spoke about wanting to protect you. And always would bring you up when she would be contemplating the decisions that she was making. She considered you. So like she would be intensely proud of you right now. I just know it.
Well, thank you. And that means a lot coming from you guys who, and you who knew her when she was oldest. And, Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'll always feel like that annoying little sister, but I truly feel like it's my time to protect her now, and I have to step up to the plate and make sure that she has a family representative, taking care of her best interests. So I'm happy to do it. Yeah, I feel like it's a very small payback on my end for all that she did for me growing up. So, but yeah, I appreciate all you guys. And we'll have to have drinks and thank each other more over lots and lots of drinks. If you've made it this far and have listened to every single episode of this podcast, I want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing me to give Alissa a voice, for believing in her case when all odds were stacked against it, and thank you for loving her. So thank you, I love you, and I'll talk to you next time. Voices for Justice is hosted, produced, and edited by me, Alissa Turney. If you want to learn more about Alissa's story and how you can help with the case, visit justiceforalissa.com. And if you love the show, it would really help if you gave me a rating and review in your podcast player. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you next time.